Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Welcome to this segment of Code Gurbani's a-sabad-a-day. We continue with our recitation from Rag Asa Ravidas Jiyo, the fifth Shabad from the pen of Bhagat Ravidas Ji. And this particular Sabad has two Rahao Panktis, two reflections. The first one emphasizing remembrance of the self within as being the only way to liberation. Har simrat jan gaye nistar tare. And the other one, the other Rahao, is a pointer to the ego that dances around filled with pride. माटी को पूतरा कैसे नचत है, देखे देखे सुने बोले दौर एक फिरत है. Attachments to the world play, always on the run, in pursuit of sensual pleasures. So what Ravidas Ji is saying is that remembrance is the only way out. He begins by a salutation to the Har Self. Har 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 Hare. That the Har is evergreen. The Har within you, the Har Har that is the transcendent self, and Har Har, the Har that is in everyone. Salutations to that Har. Har simrat jan gaye nistar tare. Remembrance of that Har will enable you to achieve freedom or liberation from the limiting patterns of the ego. That is the Rahao. And then he gives us examples of Kabir, of Namdev, who were, so we believe, perhaps contemporaries, or maybe lived around the same time. Kabir, he says, was able to break the cord of haume, the accounting that one does. There is this notion of accounting in bhakti literature, that we are in fact writing our scripts, and in there is an accounting. And because we are engaged in a repeatable pattern, we repeat ourselves. So what Kabir has been able to accomplish is to stop this repetition. Har ke naam Kabir ujagar. Har ke naam, self-knowledge, caused Kabir to become awakened, ujagar. Janam janam ke kaate kagar. Kagar is papers, accounting deeds, accounting of deeds. This is the metaphysical concept. Janam janam ke kaate kagar, that for long he was bound by the outcomes of his own actions. In other words, he was stuck in a repeated pattern. But through self-knowledge, he rose above it. Ujagar, he was awakened. Similarly, the Bhagat Namdev, whose passages we were considering just recently, he received milk. Namadeo Doodh pe aaya. Milk here is the essence of wisdom. Nimat Namadeo Doodh pe aaya, tau jag janam sankat nahi aaya. And he was released from this world. What that means is that he no longer was in this cycle. He broke through the cycle. No longer did he have a blind spot. Similarly, Ravidas says, I too have been graced by the wisdom of the Gur. And I'm not going to hell either, because hell and heaven are very dominant themes in the Indian scene. And there is this theme that runs through people's thinking, and a lot of people think these are physical places, or at least perhaps did when Ravidas was around. But we know that in Gurmat, these are not considered physical spaces, but different states of the mind. So Ravidas says, Jan Ravidas Ram Ranga Rata, Yo Gur Prasad Narak Nahi Jata, Ram Ranga Rata, colored, dyed in the color of the self. In other words, in love, in union, has found union. And so I am not going to hell thanks to the Gur. And then he talks about, in the second Rahau, the state of mind of our ego, which is full of itself, pride. Mati ko putra, he says, you're a puppet of clay. And see how it dances around, prances about. Kaise nachat hai. Dekhe, sune bole. It watches, it listens, it keeps its eyes and ears open. It talks a lot, and it is always in pursuit of something. Mati ko putra kaise nachat hai, is on the move. Dekhe, sune bole, doreo firat hai, constantly chasing, on the chase. Jab kuch paave, tab garb karat hai. When it does find something or accomplishes something, it's filled with pride. But when it loses, it starts wailing. So this is immature behavior that Ravidas is pointing to. So the secret that Ravidas shares in the last pankti is Man bach kram ras kase lubana, binas gaya jaye kahun samana. Keh Ravidas baji jag pai, baji gar so mohe preet bani ai. So I have given up this pleasure for the sweet, for sour things, pleasures of the world. I have given them up, so I am not going to be in this cycle. And the reason is, Kahe Ravidas, Baji Jagapai, I have understood the impermanence of the world. Jagat is that which moves and is never still, because it is not permanent. It doesn't have its own entity, so to speak. It is not independent. It is dependent on the Creator. Bajigar, the magician, Kabir, Ravidas says, I have actually made friends with the magician. So I know how he does this magic. So I'm no longer impressed by the magic. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.